People all around the world, me most certainly included, have a fascination for cryptids. Creatures like Bigfoot, Nessie, Mothman, and the Wendigo are well known worldwide thanks to the internet's ability to spread information to those who want to know what goes bump in the night. But there are tons of cryptids that aren't as well known as the Bigfoots of our world. And today, we're going to take a look at some of the lesser known cryptids on the Lesser Known Cryptids Iceberg. I personally hold a fascination with lesser known cryptids, and I recently started a series called Cryptid Corner. And it's only at one episode right now. You should go check it out. It's on cryptid bears. And many cryptids on this iceberg may become topics for that series. And after going through this iceberg and checking all of them out, yeah, there's a couple I definitely want to dive a little deeper into. So, if you got any suggestions, go ahead and leave a comment down below. And without further ado, let's get into the iceberg. And to start off our iceberg, we kick it off with Champ. Also known as Champy, the Lake Champlain monster is basically the Loch Ness Monster's North American cousin, although Champy is actually quite older than the Loch Ness Monster. Champy is a plesiosaur-like creature that is said to live in Lake Champlain, a lake that sits between New York, Vermont, and Quebec, and was first spotted in 1609 by Samuel de Champlain, who is well known for founding Quebec a year prior to this sighting, and who the lake gets its name after. Champlain and his team were surveying the territory when all of a sudden they spotted a large creature in the water. Multiple sightings have come in for hundreds of years, with the most recent sighting occurring in 2018. Champy has become a mascot for the lake of sorts, with the first Saturday of August always being dubbed Champ Day, where they'll hold a little festival, and it's even a mascot for the Vermont Lake Monsters, a minor league baseball team in the Vermont area. Cactus cats are bizarre feline cryptids that have been spotted throughout the American Southwest into Mexico. These prickle kittens are bobcat-like creatures that are covered in sharp thorn-like fur, along with having a branching plant-like tail. Cowboys have claimed to see these cats as rather peaceful, but they'll use their spiky fur to slice open cacti during the day and get drunk off of their fermented juices at night. And these little fellers are angry drunks, as they'll attack whoever or whatever crosses their path once they're in their drunken state. These little guys are probably like my favorite cryptid now. Like they're just little Pokemon walking around in the desert getting drunk off a cactus. Like that's insane. Anyone who watches a lot of Japanese media like manga, anime, or games have probably seen fat little snake dudes in them. These potato snakes are known as Tsuchinoko, a wide snake yokai that is said to be found in the watery caves in the mountains of western Japan. Tsuchinoko are near identical to snakes, just really fat, even being equipped with venomous fangs, but are also way different from snakes. I mean, from starters, they're like wide little footballs, but instead of slithering, Tsuchinokos will leap forward and are capable of doing second leaps in the air, like they got air hops like this is Smash or something. And if they don't want to jump, they can just swallow the end of their tail and roll around like a little wheel. But Tsuchinokos aren't all cool, because although they are capable of speaking Japanese to you, they're notorious for being assholes and are pretty bad liars at that, often being found by people who they were mocking walking by. And like many yokai, Tsuchinokos also have a fondness for alcohol, so maybe that causes it. Maybe they're just rowdy drunks, who knows. Bili apes, also known as Bondo apes, are a band of apes that are somewhat of a mix of a gorilla and a chimpanzee, located near a village by the name of Bili in the Congo. In 1908, skulls thought to be a new type of gorilla were found, due to the crest on the top of the skull, something that is lacking in chimpanzee skulls, despite the dimensions of the skull matching up closer to a chimp than a gorilla. And when researchers would investigate, they would find large, powerful chimpanzees that are referred to by the locals as lion killers, noting their hostility and resistance to poison arrows used by the locals. Although researchers, though, would note that these apes were not hostile towards them in particular, but just seemed kind of curious as they weren't afraid either. I just wanted to check us out. These apes would show some gorilla-like traits like nesting on the ground, despite being mostly chimpanzee-like, despite their gray fur that they would... And it would become like a nice silver opposed to just kind of graying out. But despite this, genetic testing would find that these apes were just eastern chimpanzees that got super big and super yoked all of a sudden. Although it is possible that these apes could be a new subspecies of chimpanzee that is evolving to have more gorilla-like traits. We can call them the Giga Monkey. The Mongolian death worm is a large worm-like monster said to live in the Gobi Desert. These worms are said to be blood-red, 7-foot-long death worms that use corrosive poison that they can shoot from their mouths, along with electrical shocks that can take down anything unfortunate enough to share the desert with them that day. Mongolian nomads have told stories of livestock and people falling victim to these worms for thousands of years. And several strange deaths occurring in the desert have led many to wonder if the worm truly lurks beneath the sands of the Gobi Desert, with some thinking it to be some type of worm-like lizard that can attack large prey, with the superpowers and all of that being kind of sprinkled in to make it more mythical. And to start off tier 2 of the iceberg, we have the Wollaton Park Gnomes. These gnomes are a colony of gnomes who were encountered by a group of school children in a park in England on September 23rd, 1973. The children were playing in the park where, out of nowhere, they were attacked by 30-some small cars, each drove by a gnome that chased the children out of the park. These kids would tell enough people about the encounter to have it covered in the local newspaper, with the kids even drawing the gnome vehicles and showing them to their parents. Most see this as just a bunch of kids having some fun and everyone in the story just kind of going along with it. But some people have theories that these kids actually did discover some advanced gnome civilization, or maybe even a small band of aliens from outer space. Monopods are a mythological race of human that move around on one leg with a massive foot, that originate from Greek literature and are used commonly in European literature. One of the oldest documentations of monopods comes from Roman philosopher Pliny the Elder, as he's said to encounter them in India, where they would hop for long distances and use their massive foot as an umbrella to shade themselves on warm days. And Europeans would have sightings of monopods seemingly wherever they would go, with Isidore de Seville claiming that in Ethiopia, monopods, going by the same description that Pliny the Elder gave, lived there, even passing down the detail of them using their foot as an umbrella. Thorfinn Karlsefni of Vinland Saga fame would even make note of a land in Canada seemingly occupied by a race of monopods. During the first voyages to North America, he and his men would come face to face with these one-legged men, and even one of his men would fall victim to one of them due to shooting them with an arrow. Monopods are a staple in old European literature and artworks, with descriptions popping up across the continent and by explorers going everywhere, seemingly as a symbol of how weird new discoveries can be. Encantados are a shape-shifting river cryptid found in the Amazon River, which is a pink river dolphin in appearance, but turns into a young man in white clothing, along with a hat to cover up its blowhole that remains while in its human form. These were-dolphins are said to save people from drowning, and are also said to have power over storms. But in true dolphin nature, Encantados are said to be way more wicked with young ladies at night, with many cultures along the Amazon using these stories of these Encantados to keep young women from running off with well-dressed men, because you don't know who's a were-dolphin and who's not, you know? Like, you ever notice that one friend who's always wearing the hat? Maybe there's a blowhole under there. You never fucking know, man. One night, a group of teenagers in Salta, Argentina were up late hanging out with one another when all of a sudden one of them decided to bust out their potato camera and start filming. All of a sudden the camera pans over and they spot a gnome hobbling down the road, seemingly going about his business. But according to the lore connected to the video, they claim that one of the teens had to go to the hospital due to shock, and the residents in the area began spotting gnomes. causing them to barricade their doors, because you never know when a gnome is going to come in and start internet drama with you. Flying humanoids can be found in the folklore and mythology of countless cultures. Creatures like Mothman, Batsquatch, Ahul, the Marangal, Owlman, sirens, and angels are just a small list of flying humanoid creatures, each with their own local lore and cultural significance. Some of these figures are seen as guardians who look over the people or spread are somewhat of messengers of an ill omen to come, while others are wicked creatures that seek out people as prey. And then there's Batsquatch, which is just like the most raw cryptid ever, really. Moving on down to tier 3 of the iceberg, we have the Snallygaster. The Snallygaster is a strange dragon-like creature that resides in the hills of Maryland. The wicked creature was described as a huge half-lizard, half-bird creature with a sharp beak and tentacles that shoot from its mouth to grab up victims. The beast is said to have a fear of 7-pointed stars, which locals paint on their barns even to this very day, along with it having a rival known as the Dueo, a 6-foot werewolf that was originated from Wolfsville, Maryland, that apparently has intense battles with the Snallygaster. The original rumor of these creatures started back in the 1730s, but would be revived in the 1800s, theoretically by racists to deter freed slaves from continuing their journeys up north. The Snallygaster reports would also pop back up in around 1909, causing the Smithsonian to issue a reward to anyone who can bring its hide. And in Giga Chad Theodore Roosevelt fashion, the then president had considered postponing his safari hunt to personally hunt down the Snallygaster himself. Crawfordsville Monster is a sky serpent-like creature spotted around the Crawford, Indiana area in 1891. The creature was described as a serpent-shaped creature that was 20 feet long and 8 feet wide, with a mouth full of road teeth with a large glowing eye in the middle, capable of spewing out fire, along with fins that streak down the side of its body. And the creatures were said to be whimper and sporadically flying in the air as if they were in pain. In October of 1903, in Van Meter, Iowa, locals spotted a strange winged creature that they would refer to as the Van Meter Visitor. The visitor was described as a large creature with bat-like wings and left a terrible odor wherever it would go, with another description saying that it would fire beams of light from its forehead. The locals would shoot at the beast, but it seemed unharmed by their bullets. But eventually the locals would all form a mob to chase the beast out, pushing the beast all the way to a local abandoned coal mine, where a second beast appeared, and eventually the two would flee into the cave, disappearing as locals opened fire on the two of them. And after this, the sightings seemingly stopped. It was also around this tier that I noticed that tiers kind of have like common entries, so it seems like there's somewhat of a theme to each tier, opposed to it being sorted by like obscurity or how dark a subject is. So I just wanted to throw that in here because it's where in research I kind of recognize the common theme. In May of 2007, a mysterious corpse washed up on the shores of Guinea, Africa, leaving everyone there confused. The monster had a large mouth with armored plating on its back, equipped with fur, a tail, and 4 paws, with many believing the blobster to be some sort of mosasaur or perhaps some other strange creature from a far-off land. But, as is the case with most blobster-type things like this, scientists were far quicker to identify the creature than the public was. The mysterious plating on its back was actually the creature's stomach, and the fur found on it was just decaying collagen. And along with these paws, they were quickly identified as flippers, so the animal was identified as a whale pretty quickly, and it left little to no doubt that this thing was a whale, and spines were just, sunburn, the collagen was decomposition, yada yada yada, you get it. It happens a lot with lobsters. Things washing up on the shore tend to look cooler than they usually are. The Grunch Road monster, also known as the Grunch, was a creature that is described as a mix between the canine chupacabras and the reptilian chupacabras. Sightings would first start in the New Orleans area in 1803 and can trace its history back alongside the early foundation of the city and its deep folklore. According to a voodoo hoodoo story, legendary voodoo practitioner Marie Laveau would perform a castration on a devil child, with this byproduct of the castrating being two grunches, a male and a female, who would overwhelm Laveau and then eventually taking the child away with them. The grunch would wreak havoc on the livestock of the area, with reports putting other chupacabra reports to shame, while some accounts would claim that these creatures were capable of sucking out all of an animal's organs and blood with a single puncture wound. This beast was said to also be forced into the neighborhoods of the area following Hurricane Katrina, forcing people to keep their pets inside or risk them being devoured by the grunch, the super chupacabra. We are now in the A-Lamau tier, and we are starting with Michelin Men. And they're referred to this and as balloon men, and are potential aliens that get their name due to them just looking like the Michelin Man. On May of 1960 in Spain, a teacher reportedly saw what looked like a 6 to 7 foot Michelin Man standing on a hill, with a far smaller one appearing suddenly wearing a single black boot near it. But when he made it to the hill, they were gone. Another couple in Spain would witness one of them seemingly rising up from a beam of light fired by an ovular UFO above on March 14th of 1976. In July of 1971, a woman reportedly witnessed a Michelin Man while in the woods with her dog, and the imposing figure standing 8 feet tall near her with segmented limbs and shining yellow head would leave her sick from the encounter, along with her having rashes on her face and arms. And another sighting on the island of Reunion on July 31st, 1968, would see a group of these figures spotted in a small clearing in the woods, and would have the figures being tall and vanishing with a electronic arc type of flash of light. Pascagoula Elephant Men were a group of aliens described in the Pascagoula abduction reports. This abduction involved 2 men getting abducted while on a fishing trip, being brought face to face with 5-foot-tall aliens with an elephant-like skin from which they draw their name. The aliens had no eyes, yet had slits for mouths, along with strange appendages rooting from their heads, and had a sort of Mopey from Brain Pop type of body plan while having lobster-like arms. These creatures are thought to be a type of robot due to reports of their movements seeming a lot more mechanical and unnatural. The Domsten Blobs are a group of small, goofy goober-like aliens that failed an abduction attempt in the early morning of December 20th, 1958 in Domsten, Sweden. A group of co-workers were suddenly attacked by a group of 1-meter-tall, pillow-shaped aliens that forced the men to fight for their lives or risk abduction. The aliens were unaffected by the man's strikes, and they even managed to dodge their punches as if they were reading their minds. But in the end, they were scared away by a car horn. so yeah, these little, like imagine like a UFO pops up and then like a bunch of pillows come out and start jumping you. And all you got to do to make them go away is honk the horn, and that's basically what happened. Alien Bigfoot refers to the cryptozoologist's wet dream of experiencing a Bigfoot encounter right after a UFO encounter. Imagine how wild that is. These sightings tend to occur in Pennsylvania, with reports going along the lines of someone being startled by lights in the sky, and then shortly after, they'll hear a rustling in the bushes near them and will be followed by a Bigfoot bumbling around in the woods just doing nothing. Maybe Chewbacca is just visiting the folks in Pennsylvania though, but who knows? That'd be insane though. Like Like you get aliens and Bigfoot in one night. Like I think you're just set, man. Like you don't need any more after that. Like you're settled. Ausso One is probably one of the most chill aliens I've ever heard reports about. On October 25th, 1974, Carl Higdon would go elk hunting, and once he managed to get a shot on an elk, time began to slow down exponentially. Slow enough to slowly see the bullet drift through the air as if it was being slowed down in jello. An alien would walk up to Carl nonchalantly and just cold open with, "How you doing?" Carl nervously responding, "Pretty good." The alien would then ask if he was hungry, giving him feeding pills, and then would introduce himself as Ausso One. Carl couldn't keep his eyes on the alien though because he was so mesmerized by the strange cube-like craft he came from. And once Ausso noticed that, he asked if he wanted to tag along, with Carl shrugging, why not? And the last thing he would remember is him going and touring Ausso's world from the cube, and that's like the most chill alien report I've ever heard. Just like, "Hey, how you doing, buddy? Want to go see space?" And moving down to tier 5, we have the Wallowa Lake freshwater crustaceans. The early settlers of Wallowa Lake, Oregon, have reported unusually large freshwater crabs, making them contenders for some of the largest crabs in the world if these claims were substantiated. But swiftly after their arrival, these huge crustaceans would disappear without a trace. These crabs are thought to be an exaggeration of larger crawfish, or maybe even a story to, talk about how the pursuit of dreams and all of that. But maybe these crabs just picked up their stuff and left. Hell, this lake has its own plesiosaur lake monster like Nessie in it, so maybe he just ate them all and got fat. The Mokèlé-mbèmbé is a cryptid said to live in the Congo that is thought to be a surviving sauropod dinosaur. And despite being this low on this iceberg, it's one of the most well-known cryptids out there. Throughout the years, natives of the Congo have reported a large lizard-like creature around the size of an elephant with a large neck and reddish-brown hide, deep in the Congo rainforest. Researchers wanting to know more about this creature would show locals depictions of sauropods. Shockingly, the locals would claim that these descriptions were a match. This sparked a wildfire of researchers leaping into the Congo at just the chance that a dinosaur could be alive in there. Many footprints and aerial footage of large objects that seemed dinosaur-like seemed to fuel people believing that a Diplodocus dinosaur may still roam the earth. And while looking for the dinosaur, a new type of algae and new sightings of what thought to be an extinct monkey known as the red Clovis monkey were discovered in the Congo. So maybe it isn't just an elephant, but it is highly likely it's just like an elephant, and people just they just misremembered it or whatever. But hey, there could be a dinosaur, so hold out hope. Elephant humanoid creatures have been spotted in Narrabeen Lake, Australia, as if Australia's wildlife wasn't already strange as is. Sightings of these bipedal creatures depicted them as 4 foot tall, with black leathery skin and anteater-like heads, with short trunks and small forelimbs. They weren't exactly elephant-like because the trunks were far shorter and they didn't have big round ears. And some people believe that these sightings could be surviving Parlotrestes, a extinct marsupial that fits the description pretty well, and a lot of depictions even show them posturing up to eat leaves and stuff. So maybe these guys kind of hung out for a little bit longer and learned to be more bipedal. Also, one of the reports described them as like seeing the people and it got startled, so it shuffled away sideways like Zoidberg. So I just wanted to add that in there because I just love seeing an elephant just like shuffle away. The Jaba FoFi is a large spider cryptid spotted in the Congo. These spiders are described as being spiders with legs as long as 3 feet long and shared behaviors inhibited by trapdoor spiders, hiding themselves until prey will come along. These spiders will also set tripwire-like webs that trip animals unfortunate enough to be caught by it. These spiders were massive and were said to prey as large as antelope and were venomous. And these spiders were said to be more common, but have shied away in more recent years. Trunko is the name of a creature that washed up on the shores of Margate, South Africa on October 25th, 1924. The creature was spotted prior, being ragdolled 20 feet in the air by two orcas, with it having a white fur coat, a lobster-like tail, and most distinctly, an elephant-like trunk. Trunko was 47 feet long and had a 5-foot trunk-like appendage on its face, and seemingly rotted away on the beach before anyone came to research it. It's widely believed that Trunko was either a whale that got absolutely dismembered by the two orcas, or a blobster, an amalgamation of rotting organisms, usually whales, that washes up on shore. But without any evidence remaining outside of some pictures while it was rotting on the beach, we can't really rule it out as some strange mammoth sea creature. I mean, a lot of maps from old Europe had like these weird elephant fish-like things anyway, so maybe it could be one of those. And down in the depths of the iceberg, we have the Tatzelwurm. The Tatzelwurm is a dragon said to live in the mountains of Europe and wreaking havoc on nearby livestock. This dragon has many regional variants and different descriptions and names that can all vary drastically, but most of them tend to be a feline-like reptilian with no hind limbs and a extremely powerful venom. Tatzelwurms will attack livestock and people alike in pursuit of food, and sightings would occur from 1779 all the way up to as recently as 2009. Many believe these weird creatures to actually be some type of salamander that evolved to be like a Gila monster, but for some reason doesn't have hind limbs. That's got to be strange, like a murder salamander just living in the mountains, and that's how we got dragons. That would be so cool. Now, if you've watched the Plausible Cryptids Iceberg, thank you one, but you may also remember a bunch of fish that were documented in the dives of William Beebe off the coast of Bermuda. I think I also called him like Beebe or something, so let's not talk about that. During the early 1930s, American zoologist William Beebe would submerge himself into the deep abyss of the Atlantic Ocean in his bathysphere, a pod that served as an observatory 2,100 feet beneath the waves of the ocean. During his dives, Beebe would witness bizarre fish swim by his pod. He would spot a small gar-like fish that he would dub the Abyssal Rainbow Gar, a giant dragonfish that is described as straight-up nightmare fuel, a fish with a bioluminescent stripes dubbed the Five-Lined Constellation Fish, a planed torpedo-shaped fish dubbed the Pallid Sailfin, and a free-starred anglerfish duo. After these dives, 5 species of fish would never be spotted in the wild ever again or wash up along shore, with many thinking that Beebe mistook the appearance of other deep-sea animals or groups of animals all swimming together and seeing something else. But some find it possible that these 5 species are just 5 of thousands of species waiting to be discovered in the deep abyssal depths of the ocean. The Drekavac is a cryptid from Slavic folklore that tends to vary in appearance, sometimes dog-like, sometimes kangaroo-like, sometimes primate-like, but always dreadful. The Drekavac is said to form from the souls of unbaptized children and will appear at night and most commonly during the 12 nights of Christmas, which are known as the unbaptized days in Serbo-Croatian tradition. The Drekavac possesses the ability to predict the future, with them being able to predict cattle disease in animal form, and in child form, they are capable of predicting a person's death. Bergkonge is a shape-shifting creature from the folklore of Norway, whose name is one really hard to pronounce. I couldn't find any pronunciations on it, and 2 means king of the mountain. In human form, Bergkonge resembles a man wearing a cape made of leaves, appearing in the forest, seeking out women to seduce, to bring them into the mountains where they will never be seen again. And in his true form, he resembles a massive spider-like dragon creature that roams the wilderness of Devore, Norway. Baba Yaga is a large figure in Slavic folklore who is to be respected as much as she is to be feared. Baba Yaga is an old, rough-looking woman who lives on a house that stands on chicken legs with a fence made from the bones of her victims surrounding it. Despite Baba Yaga being known to cannibalize people, she is often shown to be more of a guardian figure, serving as a guardian of nature and a willing guide to those who show her respect or complete her tasks. She also serves as a sort of gatekeeper to the underworld, as she has lots of knowledge and power over the realm of spirits, along with having power over nature itself. Baba Yaga is a multifaceted character who treads the line of good and evil as if it weren't there to begin with, because it isn't there in the end of the day. There's only nature, and nature demands that you respect it. And that's gonna do it for the lesser-known Cryptids Iceberg. This was a pretty fun iceberg to cover. We're going back onto cryptids, and I'm probably gonna use a lot of these for the Cryptid Corner series. So make sure to look out for that. Right, many interesting things. A lot that I didn't know about on here. Of course, the Cactus Cats. That's got to be the coolest damn thing ever. And that was just so cool. But yeah, I'd like to say thank you for watching. If you made it this far into the video, I greatly appreciate it. The cryptids are always such an awesome thing to talk about every time. Like, you look into multiple different cultures and multiple different things just pop up. So yeah, been going pretty strong with the upload schedule. I think I might keep that trend going. We'll see. We'll get a bit of a longer video here too, so that's always nice to put out. The tier list itself is organized pretty the tier list, the iceberg is kind of weirdly organized. Like, it's kind of weird that Baba Yaga, which I feel is pretty well known about, is the last entry on here. I even noticed in like the comments of the iceberg.com site, he even said, like, why is Baba Yaga that low? But it's kind of clear that there's like different themes, and the last one was kind of like ancient folklore outside of Beebe's dive. That didn't really fit, but yeah, anyways, I'd like to thank you all for watching. If you made it this far, if you liked the video, please leave a like, comment anything down below if you got anything to comment, any obscure cryptids. I'd love to hear obscure cryptids. Please tell me about obscure cryptids. I love obscure cryptids. But anyways, that's gonna be it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.